Hello everybody, welcome to Legally Sevvy, and today we will talk about the new lawsuit that was filed by JC on a defamation claim against Jane Doe, who in December of 2024 filed a complaint against JC and Diddy, and she argued that she had been sexually assaulted when she was a 13-year-old during an MTV Video Music Awards.
Music mogul Sean Jay-Z Carter is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl with Sean Diddy Combs. Jay-Z was added to an amended civil lawsuit against Combs that was filed today. The suit claims Jay-Z joined Combs in assaulting the minor at an after-party following the 2000 Video Music Awards.
Now, we all know that in February of 2025, Jane Doe dropped her lawsuit. She voluntarily dismissed the lawsuit. So now JC is filing a defamation lawsuit against her and the plaintiff's lawyer for filing that complaint.
Jay-Z is taking legal action against his rape accuser. The 55-year-old has filed a defamation suit against the woman who alleged in a since withdrawn complaint that Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs raped her when she was 13.
The complaint starts by stating that Jane Doe's complaint was false, it was malicious, it was strategically and tactically calculated and timed to inflict the maximum pain and suffering on Mr. Carter, and it was done in a conspiracy with multiple attorneys, including defendants Anthony Busby and David Fortney, who, like her, were soullessly motivated by greed, an abject of disregard of the truth and the most fundamental precepts of human decency. You have to like the introductions in complaints because they always paint a very vivid picture of exactly what is going on here. The complaint further states that those are the only truthful and fair descriptions of Jane Doe and her lawyers in their efforts to assassinate the impeccable and lifetime earned character of Sean Corey Carter, who is professionally known as JC, but most importantly is known as a dad, a husband, and a son, and a human being who did nothing to deserve or elicit the wanton, depraved attack that Jane Doe, in conspiracy with her lawyers, launched to extort Mr. Carter, beginning on November 5th of 2024 through a menacing private demand letter. So you might remember we talked about that demand letter and the response from JC. When their initial demand letter failed to yield any financial windfall, and after Jane Doe told Busby, with whom she had never spoken before the demand letter was drafted and sent, that Mr. Carter did not sexually assault her, Busby pushed her towards going forward with the false story against Mr. Carter to make the case better and get them, by them, they mean the lawyer and Jane Doe, more money. Specifically, Busby brought Jay-Z into the lawsuit. Now, Jane Doe has voluntarily admitted directly to representatives of JC that the story brought before the world in court and on global television was just that, a false and malicious story. She admitted that JC did not assault her, and that indeed it was Busby himself, whom she met for the first time at a coffee shop in Houston on the day of her maliciously false NBC News interview, who pushed her to go forward with the false narrative of the assault by JC in order to leverage maximum payday. To compound this egregious harm, just last Friday, Busby and Fortney's co-counsel, a prominent New York attorney in the now dismissed false action against JC, threatened JC's counsel to double down with yet another false public statement by Jane Doe if JC publicly revealed her admissions in Busby and Fortney's misdeeds in JC's pending California lawsuit against Busby. Fortunately and clearly unexpectedly from their perspective, Jane Doe, Busby, and Fortney were met with nothing but righteous resolve at every turn by JC. He stood steadfast, publicly decried the lies being put forth against him, and beat the evil conspiracy among malicious Doe and her malevolent, soulless lawyers, driving them back into the shadows from which they came, resulting in the voluntary dismissal with prejudice without settlement of their false and malicious complaint on February 14th of 2025. So that is the introduction in the complaint. As you can see, this is a defamation lawsuit. The defendants in this complaint are Anthony Busby, David Fortney, Anthony G. Busby LP, doing business as the Busby Law Firm, and Jane Doe. And this case was filed on March 3rd of 2025. Now, the allegations are pretty simple. They go through talking exactly what her allegations were in the complaint. They talked about how in her lawsuit, she implicates unnamed celebrity A and celebrity B, and she does not normally name them as parties. Instead, Jane Doe only used does 1 to 10 as defendants. In her complaint, she stated that when she was 13 years old, a friend dropped her off at the Radio City Music Hall in New York City so she could attend the VMAs on September 7th of 2000. And then she was invited to an after party by a limousine driver that allegedly works for Diddy Combs. A few weeks after she filed her complaint, Jane Doe, through her attorneys, sent a letter to JC, which we covered earlier in this channel, containing some of the allegations for this lawsuit. Jane Doe threatened to take a different course if JC did not commit to confidential mediation to resolve this delicate and important matter by the deadline of November 19th of 2024, giving JC only a 2-week window before she will go public with her false allegations. To avoid both public and criminal exposure, Busby stated that his client wants something of substance by way of settlement. However, Jane Doe had already sued JC as one of the Does 1 to 10, so her plan was clear. According to the complaint, she was demanding that JC either pay something of substance to stop her from making public, widely false allegations of sexual assault, or to endure the financial and personal ruin that came with those allegations. The complaint further states that JC took these statements and correspondence as an immediate and extensive threat of exposure. JC refused to agree to it, and then he filed a lawsuit against Busby, the attorney, for extortion and intentional infliction of emotional distress. In that particular lawsuit, JC explained that Busby was shamelessly attempting to extort exorbitant sums from him or else publicly file wildly horrific allegations against them. On December 8th of 2024, humiliated by JC's lawsuit, Busby encouraged Jane Doe to file, and Busby and Fortney did file, a First Amendment complaint revealing what Mr. Carter knew all along, that one of the Does was actually JC. In her First Amendment complaint, she makes wild, horrific, but utterly false allegations against JC, substituting him for celebrity A in the earlier complaint. Then on December 13 of 2024, NBC News broadcasted portions of an exclusive interview of Jane Doe, which was conducted with attorney Fortney by her side. NBC News honors Jane Doe's request to mask her identity, but they did publish the story with a couple excerpts.
You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of raping her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time.
The complaint then further states that Jane Doe lied about JC to a global television audience, in addition to attempting to explain the impossible, how she, a 13-year-old from upstate New York, wound out in Manhattan at a private VMA after party with countless celebrities. Jane Doe told NBC News how she spoke with musicians Benji Madden and his brother at the after party.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper, because I have a religious background. So it was just something to talk about.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time.
Jane Doe repeated her claims that while at the after party, she had a drink that made her feel woozy. And it was at that point that Diddy Combs and JC took turns sexually abusing her while there was an unidentified female that was watching.
At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in and rapes me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth.
Jane Doe told NBC that following the alleged sexual assault, she found her way to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and then drove her home. She says her father did not ask her what happened, what she did, or where she was. Instead, they rode home in silence for 5 hours and 47 minutes.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, "I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind," he said.
The complaint states that it is very clear that the allegations are false. First, Jane Doe stated that the assault occurred at a residence, and JC was not at such residence. Indeed, the NBC News located photos of JC from that evening showing him at a party at a commercial location, the now closed Lotus nightclub in New York City. Of course, a private nightclub cannot be mistaken for a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway that included a large living room, a hallway containing several rooms of it, and a bedroom. Even Busby admitted to NBC that Jane Doe does not claim the assault occurred at the Lotus nightclub. Second, Jane Doe told NBC that she spent 20 minutes in the limo. However, when pressed about these details in a follow-up interview with NBC, Jane Doe admitted that she didn't know where she was going or how long the drive took. Worse, she conceded to NBC that she just guessed about the length of time the trip had taken. Thirdly, to her description of her supposed conversation with Benji during her interview with NBC News, a representative for Benji confirmed to NBC News that neither he nor his brother, Joel, attended the 2000 VMAs, and they were on tour in the Midwest at that time. When confronted with this evidence, she conceded that she made a mistake in identifying them. Fourth, regarding her long pre-dawn drive home with her father, Jane Doe's father told NBC News that he does not recall picking her up, which unsurprisingly would have been something that would definitely stick in his mind. Though he did learn of the alleged assault when Jane Doe was interviewed by NBC News in December, and that what he did remember was maybe one time picking her up in the middle of the night, but it was a local drive. Based on their address in Rochester, New York, the drive would have taken her at least 5 hours and 47 minutes. And there are countless other falsehoods in Jane Doe's allegations. For example, the fact that it took 20 minutes to get from Radio City Music Hall to the after party, and there are no houses matching Jane Doe's description within 20 minutes of Radio Music Hall. She also implies that Combs hosted the after party, but none of his properties match a description of the location that Jane Doe gave. It really all boils down to Jane Doe admitted she lied. And now JC is filing a defamation lawsuit against her and her attorneys. JC is seeking punitive and compensatory damages, claiming the accusations resulted in substantial losses of at least $20 million in his businesses. Now, the lawsuit was filed in the Southern District of Alabama, where Jane Doe resides. If you are interested in checking out more information about the JC trial, the case number is 25 CV00086. That is a defamation lawsuit. We're going to have to wait to see the answer from the defendants in this case and see exactly what they say. Again, in order to survive a defamation lawsuit, you have to prove that it was an opinion or that, again, it was true, which I don't think they can prove at this point. So we shall see exactly what happens and what happens to the attorneys for engaging in such conduct. Please let me know what you think below. Leave a comment below. Make sure to hit the like button in this video and subscribe if you have not already. And I will talk to all of you later. Bye, everybody.